Hello there, I'm Presley, and today I will be going over my overall thoughts on episodes 39 and 40 of the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War arc. Now, these episodes roughly cover chapters 654, some of it, to 658, then some of 659, all the way to 661. So overall, a fairly decent amount of chapters covered. The ending poem for episode 39 is, of course, the poem from volume 72, from Uyu's perspective, obviously. Now let's get into my actual thoughts on some of the things that happen in these two episodes. We got to see the very beginning of the Yoruichi and Asuken fight, which is obviously really exciting to see the very beginning of it. We see where Yoruichi, tells Ichigo or Hime and Chad to just go ahead and start heading towards where Yhwach is, while she handles this. We get a decent bit of the Asuken and Yoruichi fight without spoiling too much from the manga, obviously. Then on the other side of things, we also got the very beginning of the Gerard fight, which is exciting. In what we saw of the Yoruichi fight, we saw where they changed a few minor things here and there. Not much, but not too much. For the most part, from what we saw, it's still fairly one-to-one with the manga, more or less, with a few exceptions here and there. But the Gerard fight so far, from the little bit of it we got to see in these two episodes, they're already starting to change a decent bit of it, which is exciting. One of the new additions we got to see Shinji and Hinamori actually fighting together against Gerard for a bit, which was exciting to see because, it's new content with Shinji. He's doing something this time. Yeah. And then, later on we get to see him and the other Vizards. We get to see them with their hollow mask on too, which is fantastic because that was not in the manga. So that is a very exciting addition. Obviously we have Yugrum confronting Uyu, because at this point, now that Yhwach is asleep, he now has the Almighty, because, they swap powers while Yhwach is asleep. So he's able to see into the future, and, he knows that Uyu's a traitor. He knows that. And then after that, we get a bit of a fight between Uyu and Ichigo, and, we see him telling Ichigo and the others that, he hasn't really betrayed them, and that he wanted to take down Yhwach from the inside. Like, we get to know what was written down in Soken Ishida's book that Uyu was reading earlier in this arc, which is great to see. We get to see a brief scene of Ryukin at the graveyard, which is great. Any new Ryukin and Ishin content for this arc would be just fantastic in general, because they were fairly underutilized in the manga, so that would be nice to see. And excitingly enough, we actually get to see a flashback to 9 years ago, or at least a brief little one, where we actually get to see a bit of that event from 9 years ago that stripped a lot of Quincy's of their powers in the human world. And we see, interestingly enough, that Uyu seemingly was affected. And, this is obviously some massive new information about this, because, we just assumed that Uyu was just kind of, special and spared. But, we see that he was clearly affected to some degree, and I really hope that we do get to learn more about it in the fourth core. We also get to see the very beginning of Uyu and Yugrum, but I mean the very, very beginning. We don't get really that far into it. Which does have me excited, because out of all the fights in the series, the Yugrum and Uyu fight is one that I really hope that they change a decent bit to. Chapter 654, or at least some of it, was adapted. And needless to say, I was in fact losing my mind like I previously stated I would. Because, we got the dead man standing scene, and I'm so happy that we got the dead man standing scene. before the end of this core. You know, without spoiling what happens in the entire scene, there's still like half of the scene roughly that has not been animated, which does give me slight hope that maybe it'll be expanded upon in the next core, and like they'll add a bit more, perhaps, maybe. Overall, these 2 episodes were a great finale for the 3rd core for the 1,000-Year Blood War, and you know, obviously now we're all going to eagerly await the release of the 4th core. But I'm going to end the review here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!